After the smashing success of Season 1, Mobile Suit Gundam, The Witch from Mercury, has returned. And along with it comes mobile suit duels, school drama, and psychological trauma. Basically, it's more Gundam.
Powerful Nerdcast assembled!
Stay dandy, baby. Guess who's back? It's the Ace Guru, and now we're going to be talking about the second season of Mobile Suit Gundam, The Witch from Mercury. This is a season that I have been hotly anticipating. I think a lot of people who watched Season 1 have been waiting with bated breath for the next season of the show, and that's because of the way the first season ended, with what might be one of the craziest post-credit scenes ever seen in just about any anime series. I absolutely loved the discussion and the discourse behind this episode when it was released because it was this big giant shockwave of people who weren't used to seeing Gundam being really freaked out by the extreme violence, and then there were those who've been there since the beginning, who basically realized that, yeah, this is kind of standard for Gundam at this point, to swerve in an opposite direction and deliver us a lot of ridiculous carnage. And this episode right here is immediately dealing with the repercussions of everything that happened in the very first season. Also, if you didn't watch the first season, it's not going to hold your hand at all. It's going to assume that you watched the very first season, and they're kind of hoping that you're on board with everything, because things just sort of immediately pick up as if this is the next episode of the series, and personally for me, I'm kind of okay with that. I'm already at home with all of these characters, and I can't wait to see how they're going to grow and change, and of course, all of the fucked up shit that this season is potentially going to put them through. This episode right here, though, was in many ways kind of a return to the status quo of what the original series was setting up, which is to say, high school drama with giant fucking robots. And if you guys are ready for more of that, then let's go ahead, jump in the cockpit, and strap in to some more Gundam goodness. But before we get there, of course, if you like this video, make sure to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel for more videos just like this one. I'm pretty much going to cover this entire season. As for other anime shows this season, maybe I'll look at some, but really I'm just here for the Gundam. I've almost been typecasted as the Gundam guy at this point, but the fact of the matter is it's one of the few anime franchises which can actually bring my big ass out of frickin' retirement. I love Gundam, and any single time there's a brand new show, my ass is gonna be right there watching the entire time, and I loved the first season, mostly with how it sort of played with my emotions, especially how they had this prologue for the series, which was dark and disturbing and more typical old school Gundam, and then all of a sudden we got this ridiculous school setting, which was set up with these characters having these duels, which really didn't seem to have massive consequences, and then by the end of the first season, things went right back to that good old blood and guts that we love from the series. You know, war is hell, not everything's black and white, and we get to see a lot of that in this episode right here, which immediately picks up 2 weeks after the end of the last season, where it looks like Suletta has returned to school with all of the people from Earth, and it looks like Miorine has stayed behind to look after her father, while also it seems as if she is being groomed by Suletta's mother for some sort of grand plan, a plan which has been enacted by her father, something called Quiet Zero. As for what Quiet Zero is, I don't even know if the writers really know at this point, but apparently it's a part of some big reformation that Rembrandt and possibly even Prospero want to take part in to make a big change in this current world of Gundam. But most of this episode right here mostly follows Suletta and her brand new school life, now being known as the most competent Gundam battler in the entire school, the Holder, and everybody pretty much wants a piece of her. In fact, the episode actually opens up with a big battle, a serial battle, where she gets challenged by multiple people, and big shock, they all get their asses spanked. Sliced, diced, melted, crushed, absolutely wrecked. Suletta and the Ariel continue to be the top dog at the Astakasia School of Technology, and everybody still continues to be in awe of her abilities, while also being a little wary of all the things that actually happened during the whole Plant Keta event. You see, while that was a very disturbing event where Suletta ended up saving Mio by quite literally crushing a dude with the hand of her mobile suit, we don't really get to see the results of that, nor do we really even get to see like a big change from Suletta's character. It's almost as if this event didn't even really happen, and she still doesn't even really seem to be bothered by any of this. A lot of this is owed to the fact that she herself has been groomed by her mother, and pretty much takes just about everything that she says as gospel, so her crushing a dude with a giant mobile suit hand is really just Another day at the office for this girl. However, she is still quite concerned about what her relationship with Mercury is going to be, especially because she's been separated from her for so long, and we haven't really had like a proper moment between these two characters that should, I think, have been addressed in this episode, but again, it looks like they're trying to build up a little bit of that drama. I will say, that's my only real disappointment with this episode, is I just wanted to see what happened immediately after those events. I mean, after that dude got turned into marinara sauce, I wanted to see a conversation between Suletta and Mirin, and it never happens. And again, this might be smart on the writers of the series as they're trying to come up with some sort of hook to get people to keep watching. For me though, it just kind of frustrates me a little bit. It just really freaking annoys me. But like I said, this episode right here is sort of returning to the status quo of the series, of seeing Suletta as the current holder, and like I said, everybody wants to battle her. We even get to see that the brand new Alon Saris has returned, and he's sort of in charge of all of the big battles and duels which are going to be going on at the school. Of course, it's a new guy who has a brand new personality, and nobody thinks that's weird at all. They just sort of accept the fact that this guy is basically a completely different person. But wait, there's more. There's a lot more doo-doo butter to throw into the fan, and that's going to come in the form of those two brand new characters who were introduced at the end of the last season, both Sophie and Noria, who were working with the Donna Fold. They've essentially infiltrated this school, and it looks like they've got some big bad plans to potentially knock out some people who could, be interfering with them and their ideals, not to mention potentially even stealing some mobile suits, such as the Ferret Gundam itself. They also really seem to be at odds with Nika, another character who by the end of the last season was revealed to be a go-between for people on Earth and people who actually attend the school and are actually, sort of funded by the Benneret group. And she's not really seen as much of a threat by Sophie and Noria. In fact, they have no problems in actually sort of intimidating her throughout this episode, whether it be simply through words or just from Noria, who decides to put a knife right in front of her. I really liked this moment because in the last season, I always saw Sophie as the more unhinged kind of character. She seemed like she was sort of like the dog who was off the leash, the one who would go insane and do anything to have a duel or enact some sort of violence. But Noria proved that she's pretty fucking scary in this episode. She's just way more composed about it. And this episode certainly proved that she's just as hardcore as Sophie, just in a completely different way. The fact is, after the whole Plant Keta event, everybody's sort of been affected, whether it's through PTSD, or the fact that their secret motives were revealed, or just that they've seen brand new sides of characters. We're getting to see some massive results of this big event in the series. However, that's not going to stop the series from solving most of its problems with duels. In fact, that's again one of the other few problems that I actually kind of have with this episode, because at the very end, Noria is getting ready to steal the Ferret Gundam, quite literally breaking free from the cockpit and about to kill Nika in the process by stomping her into the ground, when suddenly Suletta arrives and decides to challenge her to a duel. Now that they're at this school, despite the fact that they have nothing to gain from this, they decide that they're actually going to go along with this duel. On the one hand, it's great, because if they continue to act as students and win this duel, or even go through with it and lose, they still look like they're regular students and they're going to be able to blend right in. Whereas if they decided to just go all murder, kill, things probably would have gone south really quick. Like I said, while Sophie seems like she's the more crazy of the two, Noria seems like she is more than ready to get the hell out of this place. She seems very uncomfortable of being in this school setting. And as for how they're actually at the school in the first place, apparently it's some sort of big, open campus event for prospective students to actually join here, and for the most part, it's just an excuse to see a lot of montages of a bunch of different Haro robots, which, for most Gundam fans, they're probably not going to complain. I love that little ball bastard. And while this episode was certainly drenched in school drama, they still managed to make time for a few political moments in the series, getting to see that Shadiq is still working behind the scenes to potentially overthrow his father and the entire Benneret group for some mysterious purpose. And I have to admit that all of his fellow students that work directly under him are incredibly dedicated to whatever the fuck his cause is actually going to be. But again, just reminding us that he's a character that we really do need to look out for. We also get to see that apparently running the Jederick house now is going to be Gwail's younger brother. I wish I had more to say about the character outside of the fact that his entire personality seems to be that he just loves having a pissed off expression all the time. This is the season to expand upon him, and I hope they do something good, and personally, I want to see the return of Gwail, who, as far as I'm concerned, is one of the best characters of the entire series. I think this season is going to be a perfect opportunity to either redeem him in some sort of way, or at least making him into some sort of interesting obstacle for our characters. Whether that's a force for good or bad, it's hard to say, because as always in Gundam, things are not always black and white. I also want to briefly mention that there is a brand new intro, which I'm going to have to watch a few more times. It's okay. I mean, it's pretty standard stuff. It's just montages of all the characters, and there's really nothing all that new in the intro. I mean, there's definitely the Gundam porn at the end, getting to see all of the different mobile suits fighting in space. But as far as I could tell, it looks like pretty much all the same mobile suits that we saw from the last season. But this is Gundam after all, so there's a pretty good chance that as the season goes on, they're going to update it and add some brand new mobile suits and Gundams. They probably want to keep some things secret, but of course, this is the Gundam machine. They're gonna have to try and do some things to sell some model kits, so it's only a matter of time before we actually get to see all of that. What I will say is it's good to be back to The Witch from Mercury. I still think that it's a pretty solid Gundam anime series, which is taking a lot of the things that we love from the classic series and giving it a brand new spin with this school setting. I just really wanted to see more of Suletta and Miorine, interacting with one another after that crazy event that happened at the end of the last season. I really think they're going to play with our expectations of seeing the reunion between these two characters. For all we know, they're going to build it up even further than we could potentially believe. I just want to see more of these characters, and the intro and the outro made it very clear that they still are going to be the heart of this entire series. Again, that's just the way it is. And again, going back to the end of the last season, like I said, I loved the discussion around that episode. How everybody's like, you shouldn't be shocked at all the extreme violence that's happening. This happens in Gundam all the time. It does happen in Gundam all the time. People get killed in the most violent, ridiculous, and over-the-top fashion. Hell, one of my favorite moments was from the original series, the very end, where Char Aznable literally kills someone by shooting them in the face with a frickin' bazooka. That's just a small taste of what the series is known for, but I still felt that the ending of the last season was still incredibly shocking nonetheless, and I can't wait to see how they're gonna up the ante in this season with the characters, the political drama, and of course, more of those sexy ass mobile suits. That's why we're here, right? So, there it is, guys. I'm excited for more. I liked this episode. I didn't necessarily love it, and it's definitely got me excited to see what the rest of The Witch from Mercury is going to deliver. There is the potential that we could get more than just a second season. I could see this going beyond to a third and fourth, maybe if they want to make it a more traditionally 50-long episode Gundam series. They haven't made that announcement as far as I know, and as far as I've read, this is going to be the final season of the series, but who knows? Things could change, and it could have a lot to do with the viewers and what they feel about it. And I want to know what you guys feel. Are you excited for the return of The Witch from Mercury? Are you excited to see how they're going to pick up some of the major storylines from the very first season? Any thoughts and theories on how those are going to go? What do you guys want to see personally from this season? And please make sure to tell me what you thought about this episode, what you loved, what you didn't like, and of course, your hopes for the future. So thank you guys so much for watching this video. I'll see you all next time, and as always, stay dandy, baby.